do you feel confident that you will be able to deliver the goods, that we can have serious prosecutions and accountability? And I want the Morning Joe producers that watch us and all the producers that watch us, this is just not rhetoric. We're absolutely dead serious. We're not. You cannot have a constitutional republic and allow what these deep staters have done to the country. The deep state, the administrative state, the fourth branch of government never mentioned in the Constitution, is going to be taken apart brick by brick. And the people that did these evil deeds will be held accountable and prosecuted, criminal prosecutions. Kash, I know you're probably going to be head of the CIA, but do you believe that you can deliver the goods on this in a pretty short order the first couple of months so we can get rolling on prosecutions?
Yes, we got the bench for it, Bannon, and you know those guys. I'm not going to go out there and say their names right now so the radical left-wing media can terrorize them. We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice. And Steve, this is why they hate us. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators, because we're actually going to use the Constitution to prosecute them for crimes they said we have always been guilty of, but never have.
Two allies of Donald Trump are promising to prosecute journalists if the former president wins a second term. Steve Bannon, you heard first, who was Trump's chief strategist, and then Kash Patel, who served on Trump's National Security Council. He made those threats late last year on Bannon's podcast before Bannon's incarceration. Joining us now, staff writer at The Atlantic, Elena Plott Calabro. Her latest piece is titled "The Man Who Will Do Anything for Trump: Why Kash Patel is exactly the kind of person who would serve in a second Trump administration." Elena, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Kash Patel, a name that not many Americans know. He doesn't quite have the, Steve Bannon certainly is someone people are more familiar with. But Kash Patel is someone who served for Trump before, seems likely to do so again in a very prominent position. Tell us more about him.
So exactly as you pointed out, Americans don't really know writ large who Kash Patel is. But for that reason, I saw him in some ways as emblematic of the sort of person who Trump is most likely going to hire to staff his administration. But the spark notes are essentially that Kash Patel is somebody who came into the national security establishment of the Trump administration with very little experience, starting on the National Security Council. But within a year and 8 months, something to that effect, was essentially getting to the point where Trump was hoping to promote him to deputy director of the CIA, deputy director of the FBI. And you had officials like CIA Director Gina Haspel, Attorney General Bill Barr objecting vociferously to his continued promotion. But as I note in the piece, in a second Trump term, it's not likely at all that you will have people like Gina Haspel in the administration to sort of restrain Trump in the promotion of people like Kash Patel, who are very devoted to his agenda of personal revenge. Yeah, with very few guardrails in place. And we've heard now Bannon, Patel, other Trump allies talk at length about going after journalists who they think oppose them. We just played the clip in which, frankly, this show was mentioned. How real, Elena, do you think these threats are? I think they're quite real. I think in a second Trump term, we have to take very, very seriously and literally, as the old saying would go, the threats to not just go after journalists, but any perceived enemy of Trump in his first term. So this is not just media, but, career officials in the government. People like Kash Patel feel quite strongly that the early days of the Trump administration should be devoted explicitly to going after enemies like this. So, that I think the widespread nature of the definition of enemies is what should trouble many Americans about this agenda. But yes, I think we should take it quite seriously. Eugene, take a question to Elena, but we should note, of course, that Trump has said it. His mission, retribution.
Yeah, he said it. His allies have said it. And at some point, you kind of have to believe people when they're saying it. Elena, great piece as always. I thought the most fascinating part of it was the fact that you found, and I think a lot of people who worked with Kash Patel said that he lacked an ideology, and that made him even more dangerous. That he didn't, unlike someone like Stephen Miller, doesn't have this kind of thing moving him, this policy that he's really obsessed with. Talk a little bit about that, because I think that folks will find that really interesting.
It's great to see you, Eugene. Thank you so much for bringing that up. That was something I started thinking a great deal about as I interviewed people, former Trump administration officials. I would say, what is it that this person actually believes? And as you pointed out, Stephen Miller is someone who, beyond Donald Trump himself, is quite committed to far-right policies on immigration. Kash Patel, however, his ideology in essence is loyalty to Donald Trump. And so when I talk about Gina Haspel objecting adamantly to his promotion to the top of the national security establishment, what is motivating those objections is the fact that whatever it is that Kash Patel wants to do hinges almost entirely on what it is that Trump wants to do. There's no sort of independent worldview guiding his decisions. So he is the type of person who, as I noted in the piece, a former Trump official said to me, he's the person that Trump knows he can turn to and say, hey, I'm not telling you to break into the DNC, but, and to know that Trump sees him as this quote unquote useful tool, as this official put it to me, means that it's quite unpredictable what it is that he could do in a second Trump term.
Molly Jong-Fast, please take the next question.
How capable do you think he is? So he's sort of very much a Trump person, not ideological, but I'm curious, in your mind, how capable do you think he is of actually enacting these things?
Well, if he's empowered by the President of the United States, he is quite capable. I note a few instances in my piece when, despite the fact that he doesn't have a deep background in national security matters, the fact that he was in these positions of power, for example, in one of his last positions was Chief of Staff of the Department of Defense Secretary, Acting Secretary Chris Miller. In that position, Kash Patel decided that he really wanted to investigate an insane conspiracy theory related to Donald Trump's election fraud claims with respect to two people imprisoned in Italy at the time. And the fact that he was in that position of power, it didn't matter really what his background was or, you know, his precise knowledge of the levers of government. Because of his proximity to the President of the United States, the fact that he wanted to pursue this one conspiracy theory meant that you got to a point where the White House Chief of Staff himself was discussing this seriously.
The new piece, an important one, is online now for The Atlantic. Staff writer Elena Plott Calabro, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank y'all.